Welcome to Get Savvy, the podcast for people who want to claim back their time through the power of delegation, productivity, and automation. I'm Tisha, and today I have a special guest, Catherine, who is our in-house marketing manager at Strictly Savvy. Catherine is the driving force behind how we show up online, whether that's our website, our lead magnets, our social media, even this podcast, and the words that we use to explain what we do. She's the reason that our content actually answers questions instead of just adding to all of the noise out there, and why our marketing feels practical, human, and clear. So I'm very excited to have her here today. Catherine, could you start by telling us a little bit about your role and anything that I may have missed there?
Thank you for the intro. Yeah, I think you summed up my role pretty well there. I'm the marketing manager at Strictly Savvy, so I manage everything that you see online from us. That's our social media accounts, podcast, blog content across both Strictly Savvy and Wildhouse.
Awesome. And today, Catherine's here to talk about the role of custom GPTs and the role that they play in marketing. So could you start by telling us why you started using AI in your role?
Yeah. So the reason I first started is that we post across such a wide variety of platforms online, lots of platforms, lots of different streams of content, and it's really important that our messaging and our brand voice stays consistent and that the quality of the content we're posting online is really high. And because I was so focused on getting that content to that high level and out the door, the creative side of my role just started to slip down my priority list. So I started using ChatGPT probably about 2 years ago now. And I wasn't looking for something to replace the work that I was doing, obviously, but just something to make the process a lot smoother and more efficient. And ultimately, it's allowed me to put creativity back at the center of what I do and actually create more content.
That's interesting because there's a lot of stigma around using AI in marketing at the moment. So why do you take the opposite stance?
Yeah, there's so much stigma online. I think for every person that's excited about AI and sees it as a great tool, there's another person that thinks that using it is lazy or brainless, or specifically in marketing, that you're just pumping out so much junky AI content. And this is true to a point. There is a lot of bad AI marketing out there, but I would say that this is more of a user error than an AI problem. It's people that don't know how to use AI correctly to its fullest potential. So my stance is that there's absolutely no shame in using AI as long as it's not replacing your thinking, your ideas, the overarching strategy, and your marketing. It's just there to clear that grunt work off your plate and allow you to put that human touch back on at the end. So the creativity, the judgment, the refinement. And I couldn't create at the scale that I'm creating alone without the help of AI. And that's not to say that we are just pumping out content now that's all AI generated. That is just to say that we are using it to keep the quality of our content really high while still maintaining the scale that we're producing as well.
Yeah, I can definitely tell when I see Strictly Savvy content going out on social media that it still has you, because I know the brand voice that we have obviously at Strictly Savvy, and I know the way that you write that content as well, so I can still feel you in those posts. So definitely doesn't feel like you're just pumping out AI content. So how do custom GPTs play a role in this for you?
Yes. When I first started using AI, obviously I was using ChatGPT just out of the box. You log in, you start typing in the little text box. But when you do this, you're using a generalist version of ChatGPT. You could ask it to write you an email and it'll give you something that sounds okay, but it's going to be pretty generic. It's going to be beige, not super personalized. And Of course, you can add context. We always tell people to add context when they're using AI, but over time, especially if you're using it for something like marketing, it's really hard to nail that brand voice consistently if you're just using the generalist version of ChatGPT. So you can think of a custom GPT like ChatGPT that's trained for one specific task. You give it all the context it needs, your brand voice, who your clients are, examples of what you're looking for, and the processes that it has to carry out. And with those really strict parameters that you give it, it becomes a specialist in that area of your business.
And correct me if I'm wrong, please, but to find custom GPTs, you go into your chat GPT, and then on the left-hand sidebar, you click on GPTs, and then you can click create to create your own custom GPT. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. So could you walk us through what it actually took to set yours up? What kind of info did you give it? What kind of training did you give it?
Yeah, I'll preface this by saying that there is a lot of upfront work. So you need to keep in mind that you're doing this upfront work to save a lot of time down the track. Because I think that there's two ways that people might come into this. They might look at it and go like, oh my God, I can't invest hours into creating a custom GPT right now. And they'll just carry on using ChatGPT out of the box and getting sort of average results from it. Or on the other hand, people may start making a custom GPT, but not give it all of the context that it needs and just think it's not working. It's not doing what I want it to do, but that's not really the case. It's just that you haven't given it enough training. So in saying that, I'll look at one of the GPTs that I've set up, which is our Savvy Caption Bot. I give it the context and it helps me write our Instagram captions. Now, this bot has 3 documents that it refers to every time it creates something for me, and a set of really specific instructions. The first document it has is our brand voice document, and this is the basis of everything that we put out online. This is our tone of voice, our style, the word choices that we use, and examples of how this looks in practice. And our next document is the ideal client document. This one is a bit of a beast, if I'm honest. This is 18 pages long, and it is a huge deep dive into everything about our ideal client. So who they are, what they do, what are their struggles, what are their goals, what things have they tried in the past that haven't worked. So every time that this GPT gives me content, it knows exactly who it's talking to, which is really, really important. And then the third document is just a list of examples of content and captions that I've written in the past that nail our brand voice and the tone that we want it to emulate. Now, over and above those, we have the instructions. So the instructions, I think of these more like really strict copywriting rules. They start off with, you now work for Strictly Savvy, you draft our Instagram captions, and then go on to say things like, we don't want rhetorical questions, we don't want any AI buzzwords, because we want to get those really obvious AI markers out of the way to start with. And then it has rules around the structure of the captions that we want it to write, because they have very strict structure, a structure that I really like for all of our captions to follow. And I also prompt it to always return 2 caption options for me. One will look at the emotional aspect of what our ideal client might be feeling around that topic, and the other one will look at the practical aspect of that same topic. So that gives me 2 different viewpoints when I come back to review those captions, and I can pick one or the other or ask the GPT to combine those 2 ideas. With all of that said, that's a lot of upfront work, but you need to think of it like you're onboarding a new team member almost. You wouldn't expect someone to come into your business and nail your brand voice on day one. They need the context, they need the training, they need the feedback, which feedback is also really important. It's super unlikely that you're going to set up a custom GPT and nail it right off the bat and have nothing that needs to be changed or updated. As you're using it and you see the results that it comes out with, you'll notice when things are not quite right, and you will have to go back in over time, tweak the instructions, tweak the documents that it's referring to.
Awesome. I was just going to ask you that question, so that's perfect. Thank you. So once you had done all of that work, what did you end up with?
I have a little team now. I have a little team of custom GPTs, all with really specific niche roles in marketing. So I've got our Savvy caption bot, like I just talked about. There is a caption bot for Wildhouse too. So they're very distinct brand voices between Savvy and Wildhouse. So they've got different documents, different instructions, and very different outputs as well. There's one that writes our podcast content. There's one that helps me with blog drafts, email newsletters. And the best thing about these is that they never, ever drift off brand. They always talk in our brand voice. They always provide really, really solid drafts from the concepts that I give them. And then I can come back in and refine them. So I kind of see myself now as like the creative director of my little team of AI robots, where they go off and do the drafting, and then I can come back in and sprinkle that human touch over the top.
I absolutely love that. With these custom GPTs, is it only you that can access them, or is this something that you can give other people access to as well once you've created it?
Yeah, so you can set them up in different ways. Either you can make them public, which you probably wouldn't do if you're setting them up specifically for your business, or you can make them only available to you within your ChatGPT account, or you're able to set them up so that you can give someone a link to use them. For example, I've set up the Wildhouse caption bot with a link to give to Anisha, our creative director over at Wildhouse, so that she can also use it.
Yeah, that's a really good way to keep everything really, really consistent if you've got multiple people posting or involved in marketing. All right, so what difference has this made for you day to day compared to what you were doing before?
Yeah, obviously the time savings are massive when you're using AI, but I think the biggest change for me, especially around using custom GPTs, is the headspace it's provided me. So I now come up with the concept and the strategy, the GPTs draft the content, and then I get to add the creativity. It gives me the luxury of so much more thinking time. And I remember when I first started in my role, Tisha, you and Joe sat me down and you said that in my calendar, I needed to schedule time to stare out the window and think. And at the time, I was like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Like, when would I ever have the time to stop and stare out the window and think about what I want to post online? But now that I actually have that time and I can regularly have thinking time in my day, I see the benefit of it. The creative thinking has allowed me to come up with so many new ideas and different angles for our marketing at Strictly Savvy and at Wildhouse. And yeah, I don't know how I would be creating content now without the time to think it through like that.
Well, I highly recommend stare out the window and think time for anyone listening. Do you see opportunities for custom GPTs outside of marketing and other parts of business?
Yeah, absolutely. So marketing was an obvious entry point for me because it directly affects what I do day to day. But the opportunities are kind of endless. For example, I've set up a GPT for our sales team. They can give it details about what our new leads are struggling with. So why they've come to us, what problems are they facing? And the GPT will instantly generate an email in our sales team's brand voice with links to blogs or resources that we've written previously that relate directly to those problems that people have come to us with. So you can imagine with that one, the huge time saving that brings for the sales team, because otherwise they'd be sifting through hundreds and hundreds of blogs and resources and podcast episodes that we've put out online in the past trying to find additional information to make that sales process even richer. I know that other members of our Savvy VA team are also exploring GPTs for things like routine client comms. It's just anything that is a small, repeatable task with really strict parameters. If you've got something that changes drastically from one time to the next, it's probably not the best for you to go and set up a custom GPT. But if it is something that you can have really strict rules around that can be followed every single time, then yeah, the options are almost endless.
You've got my brain flowing with ideas now, so I'm probably going to go and create one after this. So to finish up, if someone listening is curious but also a bit hesitant about using AI, what bit of advice would you give them?
First off, stop apologizing or hiding that you use AI. I think that's my biggest takeaway. AI is here to stay despite the reservations or the negativity that some people online still have about it. And so it's important for you to build confidence with it because it is going to be an essential skill for the years to come. Like, you need to know how to use it. In regards to custom GPTs specifically, I would say start with one small task that is easily repeated and has those strict parameters, and then give it way more context than you think it needs. Train it like a brand new team member, and definitely don't expect perfection on the first day that you create it. Tweak it and retrain it until it's giving you consistently perfect outputs.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've talked about quite a few times here on the podcast. You definitely can't expect it to get it right the first time. So thank you for those tips, and thank you very much for explaining to us how you've set up your custom GPTs. And if you're listening and would like help implementing AI or automation into your business, then head over to strictlysavvy.co.nz and you can book in a discovery call with us to chat about the options for your business. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Get Savvy podcast.